Alright, so this here is a pitch for a gaming console idea I had. And the pitch is pretty much a portable gaming handheld device, or handheld console, if you will. And the purpose of this console is to fulfill many things, such as having high portability, having fun games, hopefully. And this is hypothetical, by the way. And borrowing other ideas from a lot of other well-known handheld gaming devices, such as the 3DS. And as you can see, the shell this is a kind of cardboard prototype I got going on, and the shell is based off of the Game Boy Advance SP, I believe, but the button layout is, hopefully you'll see soon, is based off of the 3DS. So it's kind of a hybrid between those two, and with the more modern like gaming chips, hopefully this will the target the target range of this console will be SNES type games, hopefully all the way to N64 games, and hopefully in turn this will lead to a cheaper price, as opposed to, let's say, the price of some others, like the $300 price tags of some consoles out there. And if you think about the current gaming market, the price tags are typically, if you want a new console, the price tags are typically around $300 to around $800, with the Xbox Series S, Nintendo Switch, all the way up to like the newest PlayStation. And I'm not, I I'm not trying to dog on them per se, because the part of the reason that they are priced like that is obviously because of the graphical, um, power of them, and many other things. But the point of this is not really to have AAA graphics, if you will. It's more of to have, as mentioned before, NES through N64 type games. And you may be wondering why, or isn't that stuff outdated? Well, honestly, I've been kind of thinking about things, and maybe going back is a way to go forward. Because I'm not saying they're bad, but a lot of the AAA games, there's just something about them where, again, I'm not saying it's wrong, but some of them are so high quality. I don't know. Maybe it's just too much for my brain to process, but I don't know. I feel like games that are modern games, they kind of get to you a little bit, because maybe the brain is inputting so much information. It's just, I don't know. I guess it's just different than like Mario 64 or something. Just like, or Super Mario Kart, where it's like so simple to look at. But anyways, and I do like modern games. I do. But kind of another point of this is, I guess I'll kind of try to get into the target audience of this console, which is just about anyone, in my opinion. If because of the I would hope the price would be under $100. And because of that, it could be for, let's say, a grandparent wanting to buy a new console for their children or grandchildren, and they don't want to break the bank. And so they see this on the shelves coming in at under $100 as compared to, let's say, $300 to $800 consoles in the same area. Well, grandma might think twice about picking out this one, this under $100. But anyways, another target audience that this might be for is for people who want to try to quit games or dial back on games, and because of the possible lower profile on this console as opposed to a PC, which a PC has just about literally everything you could want from games, down to emulation if you chose to go that route, and Steam, which sometimes has games from multiple consoles, including, Steam exclusive, like PC exclusive games. And most PCs are kind of big because they house a lot of powerful components, and that leads to them typically being stationed in somebody's room or one specific room. And maybe somebody's looking to either step back from that lifestyle, and I don't want to but anyways, someone might want to step back from that lifestyle and and I guess dial it back. This could be for them because it's a lot less. Instead of having the whole world of gaming, so to speak, on your PC, the range would be dialed back significantly. And some people might think, well, why would you want to decrease the range of the games you can play? But I mean, there's several videos out there about people wanting that. But in this specific case, maybe somebody wants to step back from gaming or even eventually quit gaming. This could be a stepping stone for them to buy this and then replace all their other consoles. And also, it could just be for people who like gaming, because there are a lot of consoles like this. I know this might not sound like a game changer, but because there are a lot of consoles out here, especially like emulator specific consoles. But the thing with this is I hope it would not have emulation. And I would actually want it to be have its own operating system and its own gaming library with its own console exclusives. And another reason why this might work is because, if given the opportunity, is because people still try to make games of that caliber of specs I'm talking about. Like, I saw somebody make an open world N64 game, which is pretty cool. Like, people still are interested in that sort of thing. And games like I guess Shovel Knight, that could probably run on the specs that this might have. A game like Shovel Knight, like the 8-bit, 16-bit, and 30-bit or 32-bit games. But yeah, and so I guess let's take a look at this thing. So this is kind of what it looks like. So I kind of tried to edit it, make changes to it a little bit, but You got like standard, it's kind of a standard layout. Like I said, the shell is kind of like the Game Boy SP or Game Boy Advance SP, and the button layout's like the 3DS. You got the 2 joysticks, left joystick, right joystick, which if I was able to choose, these would probably be the 3DS ones where they're almost flat joysticks, so that this could close easier. And you got like the standard 4-button layout. Like on Xbox, it would be A, B, X, Y, and then you got the start and the like select or map button, and the power button might be on the side, like right here. But one of the gimmicks of this console is, if you notice, I have this cardboard cutout on my on my keys, on my key loop, and the gimmick for this console would to make it just big enough to be playable somewhat comfortably. Oh yeah, it's got the left shoulder button and the right shoulder button. Oh yeah, it's got the D-pad down here, and I kind of edit it so it doesn't really look that professional, but right here. But anyways, so this I would hope for it to be just big enough, about this size, to where it's comfortable playing, but it's just small enough to where it would have a keychain loop right here to put it on your keys. And why? Oh yeah, and I kind of tried to draw Mario Kart on the SNES right here. As you can tell, I'm not the biggest artist, but just to kind of give you a visual, and it probably wouldn't actually have Mario Kart on it, but it might have a Mario Kart like game on it. But excuse me. You might be wondering, well, what's the deal with what's the deal with you wanting to put it on your keychain? Well, this is kind of the gimmick. So, you know, if you take a look at the Steam Deck and the modern Nintendo Switches, like the Nintendo Switch 2, and then before the original Nintendo Switch, they are portable, but they're about like, you know, most of you probably know how big they are. They're pretty big, even though they are portable. They're pretty big. Although they're portable, they're not pocket portable, and a large part of that is probably because of the amount of power they have in it. So yeah, the gimmick with the keychain, hopefully, is that the goal of this is kind of to be, if people want it to be a console replacer, where if you buy this, you can replace all your other consoles and maybe even your PC, and hopefully not feel be at a huge deficit. And one of the reasons why it's on the keychain is because, me personally, whenever I leave the house, I think of 3 main things that I almost always take with me almost every time I leave the house, especially if I'm going somewhere, like driving somewhere. I take number 1, my phone, number 2, my wallet, and you know, all the stuff that's in my wallet, and number 3, I take my keys. So if you made a console that could easily attach to your keychain, then theoretically you would have it almost always with you on your person. And also, I would want to have the charging adapter, the charging port on the bottom, which would also be able to plug into a dock, like you just plug it in here. And so if I think about my day, whenever I leave the house, I usually put my phone in my pocket, grab my wallet, and then grab my keys with it. So if this was on your keychain, you would grab your phone. If you were me, you would grab your phone, I would grab my wallet, and then when I grab my keys, I would advertently or inadvertently take this with me. And so, and so, and after I get back from whatever destination I came to, what do I do when I get home with my keys? I usually just plop them on my desk. And so with this, hopefully all you'd have to do is whenever you get home, instead of just plopping your keys on your desk, just plop this thing on the dock and it's charging, which is pretty much the equivalent of plopping your keys down on the desk. And then whenever you leave, you grab your keys, this thing comes with it, and it's probably already charged, ready to go. So it's with you 90% of the time, theoretically, which in my opinion is kind of a big thing. And that kind of leads into another topic, which is community. And when I was younger, me and my brother and my cousins, we had 3DSs. And one of the things I thought was so cool on the 3DS is they had like this LAN system where basically you could play multiplayer games. I don't know exactly how it works, but you could play online, quote unquote, with each other anywhere, even like while not connected to the internet. Like if you were close enough with each other, you could just boot up a game, cut on the LAN button, and then boom, you have wireless multiplayer with no internet. So hopefully this would have that. And again, this kind of leads into the community point where hopefully this console would re-incentivize community back into the gaming sphere, if you will. Because think about it, if this thing's under $100 and you and all your friends have it, it could be back like the 3DS days where you probably already have your keys with you. So if you're at like American Pie or something or whatever restaurant you go to and you're waiting for your meal, you and your friends could just whip this thing out and play like, I don't know, play like a Pokemon battle while you're waiting for your food to come. And again, a Pokemon equivalent, that is, not actual Pokemon, because it probably wouldn't actually have that on there. But and that hopefully that would kind of foster a sense of community in incentivizing people to talk to people and have community instead of just staying in their room. And I'm not trying to judge anybody who does that. I have an Xbox that's in my room, and there are plenty of times where I just stay in my room and play games by myself. And so hopefully this would kind of, if you bought this and replaced all your other consoles, hopefully this would kind of re-incentivize that getting out and connecting with people like through LAN. And because if you want to play LAN, you have to be pretty close to a real person. So that kind of advertently or inadvertently incentivizes communication with real people in real time, because if you want to play local multiplayer with somebody, you kind of have to be kind of close to them in real life, if it's in portable mode. If it's in dock mode, I hope it will have Wi-Fi built in so that theoretically you could play it online. And that kind of leads into another point where I'll be honest, I'm no software developer, but if there's a team of people, or maybe even one person who is dedicated enough to make an operating system for this console, I would hope for it to be community driven. And a lot of times older games the online tends to get shut down because the servers get shut down. And so I would want this to be community driven, where I don't know. Hopefully this would work out well. But some of the ideas were that, let's say, for example, you had a Mario Kart-esque game that had the ability for you to play online. Well, the idea was, because it's community driven, as in, hopefully there would be an option where the players themselves could create their own servers. So theoretically, their game, or this Mario Kart S game, could stay online however long the whatever player is running the servers decides to keep it open. And, you know, if that player quits, then another player can take his place. And so theoretically, there could be no online, and continuous online for, you know, as long as it's allowed to happen. And so I think that might be pretty cool, because obviously, if that were the case, then online would be free. It would not be subscription based. I think, unless that player decided to charge a subscription, but I don't know how all that would work. But I would think it would not be subscription based. And so that's another plus. You don't have to pay monthly subscriptions. And that kind of leads into a different point where, again, harkening back to the other point, one of the ideas is hopefully it would be community driven. So hopefully there would be an option where players could even post their own games. And aside from the games that's pre-built on this. And hopefully right here, similar to the 3DS, there will be a slot for a SD slot, SD card or micro SD card. And, you know, one idea is that I think they make dual SD cards slots, or dual micro SD card slots. And I think this could bring back physical gaming, not a key to not buying something physical that gives you a license to play, but a physical game cartridge that has the game on it. That would, instead of making an entire gaming cartridge slot, theoretically you could just put a dual SD card slot in here and integrate it to where one part of the dual SD slot takes an SD slot, which can increase your storage relatively inexpensively, and then the second SD card slot would actually be where you put in your physical game cartridge if you had one. And because of the technology nowadays, like similar to the Nintendo Switch, the game cartridges are not that big. So and Nintendo Switch can play pretty big games, like Mario Kart World. Doesn't that have a game cartridge? I know, like, Zelda Breath of the Wild has a game cartridge, I'm pretty sure, and that's a pretty stout game. But with the specs on this thing, I think you could shrink a physical game cartridge even more to where it would function look just like a SD or micro SD card. And so that would save some cost on here, where just plugging it in beside your SD card and then it reads as a physical game. But anyways, let's see. What was the other point? Oh yeah, a separate point, kind of touching a little bit more on the dock mode, is that, you know, maybe it's about time to cut the video off. But in dock mode, I want it to be where the dock it's not that big. It's only about like this, because it wouldn't have to, you just have to set it down like this, and maybe just big enough where you could set it down like this closed too. But here's the thing, because the dock for one wouldn't be that big, I'd want the dock to have 4 separate charging stations. And so what that would do is have 4 slots for 4 separate of these same devices. And why would you want that? Well, number one, in case you had 4 of them, you could charge all 4 of them at the same time. But number two, the dock would, similar to the Nintendo Switch, you could just plop it in, and it also could connect to your TV through HDMI, so you could play your games on the big screen. But since it has 4 slots for 4 different gaming consoles, the reason for this is to have it automatically. I don't know exactly. I hadn't fully, thought this through. But what I have thought is that if you have one in here, and then let's say you put a second one on a different slot, then it would somehow automatically connect to the other one. So let's say, I use the Mario Kart example. Let's say you boot up Mario Kart on the TV, you plug it up on your big screen, and you select local play. Well, if your friend comes over and has the same console, they could hypothetically either do 2 things. They could either join locally on their device while it's in handheld mode, or they could just plug it into the dock and have theirs charging while it automatically connects and boots them as player 2 on Mario Kart. And you could do that 2 more times with the 4 players, and boom, you got a 4-player party just by putting them in the dock, basically, and a few other steps. And also, hopefully this thing would have, I don't think it would have an aux port to try to save on cost and room, because the headphones I have now, I just have a aux to like an aux to charger converter or whatever it's called, and so you could theoretically just do the same thing with that if the charging port was applicable for it. So I think I'll just hypothetically, unless there's a really popular demand for it, I'd probably just skip out on having an aux port and just letting the charger port do that job. And also, hopefully it would have, I'll try to integrate Bluetooth into it so you could connect your headphones, and also on that same note, hopefully I'll be able to connect let's say like a wireless controller too, if you wanted to go that route. Like while it was docked, you could just connect the Bluetooth controller to it and play it docked, like on your couch or something. But yeah, I think I might cut the video right there, or stop the video right there. Yeah, and I might comment some of the notes down in the subscription. Down in the comments. But feel free to check the comments if you want, and check the channel, check the descriptions, whatever. And all right, I guess that's about it. May God bless, if He wills.